Good morning, everyone. It's good to see you this morning. That was quite an opening and quite a description of the internet. It kind of sets me up for some positive, I hope, comments, even in the face of, we know, some complexities that are obvious because we have such a complex ecosystem globally connected, with both good things and not so good things going on, as we know even today, with the headlines on yet another hacking that's gone viral. But let me start by applauding the GSMA for highlighting the importance of the human element in society. This Congress this week is rightly focused on understanding human interaction with technology and what it means for society as we head into the future. The Internet Society is grateful for this invitation, and I thank our hosts for having us. For 25 years now, the Internet Society has been home to a global community of people who are driven by a common idea that when people get access to the Internet, amazing things happen. Our founders envisioned a society growing up around the idea of the Internet, and indeed it has. We can do things like share ideas, build communities, make tools we hadn't even dreamed of before, deliver health care to children in school. We believe at the Internet Society that everyone everywhere should have access to the global information networks we know is the Internet. There's no question that the relationship between humans and technology increasingly defines the world around us. One only needs to contemplate the changes in our society as we became and become more connected. And there is also no question that the wireless technology has become a crucial force in building a connected future for us all. Consider the phenomenal growth here in China. There are more than 730 million Internet users here alone, with 95% accessing the Internet on a mobile device. In 2015, the world made one of the biggest promises it has ever made to itself. The United Nations set out 17 global goals, the Sustainable Development Goals, aimed at achieving extraordinary things in the next 15 years, including fighting injustice and inequality, ending climate change, eliminating discrimination, developing sustainable energy, and making sure no one goes hungry. We're now into the second year of working to keep that promise, and it is an enormous task. Rough estimates say we'll need at least $1 trillion of additional annual investment in developing emerging economies to achieve these goals. It's numbers like these that cause many people to wonder if achieving these noble outcomes is even possible. The Internet thinks it absolutely is possible, because the Internet itself is the enabler of the goals. And we will get there faster and in a way that lasts if everyone everywhere can access the Internet and benefit from it. In fact, SDG 9, which is the focus of Internet development, focuses on the important role and that connectivity plays in enabling the least connected places on the planet to enjoy the benefits of 21st century health, education, and all of those 17 goals articulated by the UN. Here's the good news. According to the latest UN report on SDG 9, in 2016, 95% of the world's population and 85% of the people in the least developed countries were covered by a mobile signal. That's extraordinary. And that's what you have done. So while 4 billion of the world's 7 billion citizens are not yet connected, we have a real, present, and immediate opportunity to bring billions of people into our shared emerging digital economy. The engineers and business people in this room are dedicating their professional lives to ensuring that those people and places within the signal range will soon have access to the world's most powerful consumer computer, smartphone. With 3G, 4G, and 5G technologies soon to come, anyone with a mobile device will have access to the information network that is unsurpassed in humankind. And I'm not just talking about access to a single app, nor am I talking about access to competing companies' platforms. What I mean is access to worldwide information that anyone can access on the World Wide Web. At the Internet Society, we work alongside commercial providers in the developing world to build community capacity for both personal and institutional use of the technology with programs aimed at both access and affordability. But what about those who aren't within the signal, that are not within the range? What about those who live in our rural areas, where the cost of building and operating networks does not meet the demands of the unforgiving ROR? We hear it all the time. What do we do about them? I'd like to briefly discuss a way that we at the Internet Society see as a complementary effort to that of the mobile industry, and which needs very much your expertise and partnership. So let me talk about community networks just for a moment. Community networks offer for anyone everywhere and anywhere, and regardless of background, an ability to connect to the internet as long as they have the right tools and support. By empowering people in underserved villages across the world to connect to themselves and their communities, community networks access where traditional or commercial networks do not reach or serve, or to areas that may not be economically viable to operate. They offer a complementary alternative to traditional commercial telecommunication networks. They also have a way to develop future businesses by creating digitally savvy communities hungry for more local content and additional services. They're not super high-tech networks. They serve a local community, a local community-driven purpose to connect within and to connect from the village or the community out. For instance, they might be a local open-source 2G solution or a Wi-Fi mesh solution using license-free spectrum. The aim, when communities can get their hands on these tools, is to build capacity for both the demand and the supply of more digital tools. We are currently supporting at the Internet Society 20 of these projects using different technologies to fulfill community needs. In Nepal, for instance, in partnership with the Nepal Wireless Project, there are 12 schools, 2 health care centers, and a community hospital up and running. In Telonia, India, we have seen the success of Wireless for Communities, a grassroots project that started in partnership with the Digital Empowerment Foundation that has since been replicated across Asia and is now moving across the world. I thought I would just show you a couple of pictures so you could kind of figure out what I'm talking about by looking at the faces of some human beings. This picture here is Nepal. This is an effort to actually bring the energy up the mountain to power the networks that were built by the community. Here is a project that I want to talk to you about. It's in Telonia, about 2 hours from Jaipur, about 7 kilometers off the main road. And in it, there are a community of people who have established Barefoot College. Why Barefoot College? Because most of the people in the village are unschooled. They may not read, but they are quite capable of developing skills for pursuing their own livelihood. The college has a unique school for women they call themselves Solar Mamas, who are learning how to build solar panels for stoves in their villages. The women come from all parts of India and, oh, by the way, from other continents, it's grown so big, to learn how to put the panels together. You will see the iPads there. Most of these women do not read. They all speak different languages, and yet are taught and skilled on how to do the transistor panels that need to be wired in order for the stoves to work. It is fascinating to watch. And what is holding them back to their own communities and their villages is a WhatsApp application on a phone that allows them to stay in touch with their families, their children, and by the way, husbands who aren't so keen on having them be away for months at a time. While they're doing their work, the children are learning to compute. These kids are sitting at computers that are not hooked up to the internet because there's not enough capacity in the village, but who are learning to use the computer because in the next class they get to use the computer that's actually hooked up to the internet. Watch their faces. For 20 minutes they sit and wait for the person in front to get those skills and patiently take their turn. This I want you to see is the sketch of a network that is working in that village. I see all of my engineering faces going, not so fancy, not so fancy, but it works. And it works because the community is invested in having it work. All right, I could tell you stories about one after another of these village networks. One I can tell you in Mexico, which frustrated me to no end, a school with these beautiful children where a tower is in the middle of the campus, abandoned by the carrier, not 2 kilometers from the road, where you know they would be hooked up. They're using a Raspberry to figure out what it means to use the internet. And story after story after story, I can tell you. Okay, so how do you scale any of this? What can we do about it? What do we do with all these little places all over the globe? Well, another fascinating aspect of the UN SDG 9 implementation report is an indicator that tells us how far off the main road the villages are. From our kind of anecdotal experience, many of these villages lie about 2 to 5 kilometers off the main road. And running down the main road is connectivity for the cars that are going by, passing those villages by. There are cell towers from which the signal is bouncing all the way down a road. Could it be that we might be able to connect these villages one by one to this cellular backbone that is fast being built throughout the developing world? Could it be we could scale this so that these homegrown networks could be connected to the internet? This is what I know. The developing world needs the mobile industry and the internet community to come together to share responsibility for supporting this kind of development, for supporting the pioneering individuals who are building their own networks and figuring out, with the promise of the internet, what it does for them and how it can work for their own benefit. It seems to me that there are ways for each of us and our companies to be part of a global movement of people coming together to make previously impossible progress possible, to make progress scale. We know we need scale. Companies here do and can participate in this kind of development by giving time, people, equipment, training, or providing those innovative projects with maybe a little backhaul. Not much traffic needs to go over those cell cell towers that are moving down the highway, or maybe a slice of unused spectrum? I can only dream. The Internet Society is keen for all of us to put our minds and our energies together to forge some new partnerships and to strengthen existing ones. The goals that we set for ourselves for the betterment of humankind, and by the way, for the expansion of business and the expansion of our economies, are really within our reach. This is a powerful industry. I think it can do amazing things, and we together ought to. Thank you very much.
Kathy, that's a wonderful message you've left us with there. I wonder if I can ask you one question.
Sure.
Whose responsibility should this be to drive this vision of a globally connected community? We've got regulators, operators, vendors. In your view, who should be driving this?
Well, I think that what we see is a very collaborative kind of notion that's come out of these goals. And each of us has a part if we decide to take it. No one's going to tell anybody to go hook up a little village off the beaten path and help folks find their own energy and their own empowerment. But when we do decide to do it, there's any one of us, organizers, organizations like the Internet Society that is operating globally, worldwide, that is actually there to help convene and to have people grab the kind of tools they need to empower themselves.